Okay, guys, so at this point in time, you're on the bus, you're excited, you're headed out for our first field trip, and I just wanted to ask you a question, which is why are we going to the Holocaust Museum? What's the point? Why are we headed on this field trip? Well, actually, I know that you guys all know the definition of genocide. Here is the dictionary definition just in case. That is the deliberate and systematic extermination of a national, racial, political, or cultural group. And I know that we studied the Holocaust when Newcomb went over World War II, but I guess what I want you to understand is that there is a wider scope for all of this. Obviously, was the Holocaust a genocide? Yes. But in general, why do we study genocides? Well, here's your learning target for the day. Basically, you guys need to understand the impact of war on genocides. Yes, I'm making you make a connection between the units of war that we've just studied and the idea of genocide. And then I'm going to throw in a little twist, which is a connection to today, which means how does it impact bullying? What is the difference between genocide and bullying? Well, I don't know if you guys actually saw Barbara Colaroso a couple of years ago when she was here. She was a really great bullying speaker that came and talked to us about what it means to be a bully and all the different roles in the bullying cycle. We will look at that when we return home. Actually three of her most famous quotes that really hit me when she was here is her definition, first of all, which is bullying is the dehumanizing of other human beings with an intent to harm. And actually, she did work in Rwanda during the mass genocide, and she explained that genocides dehumanize people in the same way that bullying does to targeted children. Now, I'm going to let that sink in for a second, and I'm going to read it to you again. Genocide dehumanizes people in the same way bullying does to targeted children. Wow, that's pretty powerful in terms of a connection between genocide and bullying. That when you bully, you treat people the same way that individuals do during genocides. Obviously, it says there's no remorse. It's contempt for another human being, which is exactly the same as genocide, which targets an individual or a group and dehumanizes them. So, were there other genocides that we did not learn about that happened during the wars that we studied? You betcha. The first one was in Armenia. Now, I'm not going to give you all of the details, but what you need to know is that it was carried out during and after World War I. The Ottoman government system basically exterminated its minority from their homeland, and the starting date is April 24th, 1915, and it is estimated that between 1 and 1.5 million were killed. Then we moved to the Ukraine, which is 1932 to 1933, obviously around a similar time period as the Holocaust. And Soviets created a man-made famine. Yes, they made it so that there was no food available, so people died. They literally created a famine for extermination purposes in the Ukraine. The communists did this in 1932 and 1933. Because it's famine, the deaths are hard to pin down, but they seem to have narrowed it down between 2.4 and 7.5 million. That's a genocide during the wars that we've studied, obviously. Are there more? Yep. Obviously, you know about the Holocaust. This is your job today. What would you put on this slide? What are the basics that we need to know about the Holocaust so that we can pin it down as a genocide as well? Then there's Cambodia. Wait, there was one during Vietnam? Oh, yes. After the Vietnam War in 1975, there was an organized mission that ruthlessly imposed an extremist program to reconstruct Cambodia under the communist model of Mao's China that you guys learned about. They must work as laborers, and anyone in opposition must be eliminated. On short notice, under the threat of death, everybody had to leave, ill, disabled, old. No one was spared. People who refused to leave, who didn't leave fast enough, were abolished, and children were taken from their parents and placed in forced labor camps. Sound familiar, doesn't it? Then you have Rwanda in 1994. Rwanda's population of 7 million. Here you go. You can see what it is. The three different groups. But unfortunately, in the 1990s, the largest group, blamed the smaller groups for the country's problems. And so after the president's plane was shot down, of course, under this cover of war, the extremists launched their plans to destroy the entire population of the minority groups. So if they were assumed to be in the minority groups, they were killed. Entire families were killed. Women were systematically and brutally raped. It is estimated that around 200,000 people participated in this Rwanda genocide that Barbara Colarosa was speaking about in her bullying information. Then you have Bosnia, of course, and that's the Bosnian genocide. Again, same idea, ethnic cleansing campaign that took place from 1992 to 1995 during the Bosnian War. And then we move to Darfur, which is also in the Sudan. It's very popular, so I'm sure some of you have heard about it. It's rather recent, unfortunately, as one of the first genocides in the 21st century. It was in 2003. It's a mass slaughter and rape of Darfurian men, women, and children in western Sudan. It's being carried out, of course, by a group of government-armed and funded Arab militias. And they destroy Darfurians by burning villages, looting resources, polluting water, murdering, raping, and torturing. These militias are historical rivals of the main rebels, and as of today, over 480,000 people have been killed and 2.8 million have been displaced. So again, there's a genocide during every war that we studied. And even more after that, sorry, not after that, even more in addition to those? Yes, exactly. So what did Colaroso say? That genocide dehumanizes people in the same way bullying does to targeted children, and it happens during all of the wars that we've studied and in our own building on a daily basis. So I ask you again, why are we going to the Holocaust Museum? Be ready with an answer tomorrow, please.